Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Revere School Committee. Today is April 20th, 2021, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United
States
States
of
of
America, and to the republic
for which it
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
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 liberty
liberty
and justice for all.
for all.
Roll call the members.
Mrs. Stacy Bronson Rizzo,
Here.
Mr. Anthony D'Ambrosio,
Here.
Mr. Michael Ferranti,
Here.
Miss Susan Gravelis,
Here.
Mr. Frederick Sanella,
Present.
Miss Carol Ty,
She's here.
Mayor Brian Arrigo.
Here. We will begin tonight's meeting with public speak. Dr. Kelly, I'm looking at the participants list. I don't see any hands raised, but if anybody would like to speak, please raise your hand and we will elevate you into the webinar so that you can speak. Okay. We'll move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're going to begin tonight with a presentation from the staff at SeaCoast High School. And Dr. Mulligan, the principal, is here with us tonight. She's going to lead the presentation, as she mentioned. Her staff, as you know, everybody's on vacation this week. So her staff have contributed via video. And I'll invite Dr. Mulligan to begin. Stacy, does your video not work? Or
my video does work. I just didn't have the option to turn it on when I logged into the meeting like I usually do with Zoom.
and I feel like that's something that I can fix. So give me 1 second to see if I can. Can you try it again now?
I'm here.
Ah, there you are. In the darkness of your office.
I just turned my light on. I didn't realize how dark it was in here. Sorry.
No worries.
How is
And
Are we ready to start?
I think so. And I can share it, or if you want to share it yourself, I've made you a co-host so you can share the presentation yourself if you want.
Okay, I think I'm going to share it because I've been playing around a little bit with it since then.
Okay.
Let me see. Can you see my screen yet?
Yes.
And can you see the presentation?
Yes, celebrating Luther Vandross' 70th birthday.
Nope, that's just my Google, sorry. This was, let me see if I can get it.
There it is. Okay.
You see it?
Yep.
Okay. I just have to go back for just 1 sec. I need to have my presentation notes on here so I can see. Is there a way for me to share this so I can still see my notes?
I think you have to leave it in this mode instead of putting it into presentation mode.
Okay, I hope that.
I've run into that problem myself before.
Okay, well, that's fine. I'll have to do it this way. So good evening, everybody. My name's Stacy Mulligan. I'm the principal at SeaCoast High School. Thank you for having me tonight. What I'm going to present is just two good things that are happening at SeaCoast. I'm going to present competency-based learning, what's been happening here with SeaCoast with it, and a quick presentation about family engagement. So I know that everybody has seen a lot about competency-based learning, especially this year, since a lot of the other schools are using some of the practices because of the pandemic. But SeaCoast has been doing this for a little bit longer. This would be the second year that SeaCoast has been using company-based learning. This is actually the first full year that we've been using it. They started last year under Mr. Magno, but because of COVID, things kind of got a little twisted. So this is actually pretty much the first year we've been totally using CBL. So I can definitely say, coming from other districts, I have only taught and been an administrator in traditional high schools where there was no CBL. And even as a teacher, I was a teacher for 17 years before I became an admin. The most important thing when you are teaching kids is they want to know their grade. They always want to know their grade. They want to know the bottom line. They don't want any nonsense when it comes to their final grade. And coming to this district and hearing that SeaCoast was using this, I definitely was skeptical, because I thought I couldn't really imagine how kids could be so comfortable not seeing a grade anymore, a numerical grade at least. But I have been pleasantly surprised with how well the students have adapted to CBL, and as well as the staff. So I'm sure most of you are aware what CBL is, but this is just a quick definition for those who haven't seen it yet, but I'm pretty sure everybody here has. So instead of using traditional grading with new numbers, it's more competency-based. So we're more focused on our students learning skills and mastering those skills before we move them on to the next level. So why does CBL work at SeaCoast? We definitely have smaller classes than the high school. We don't have the traditional tracks that, let's say the high school has a 9th grade track, a 10th grade track. Our kids are all over the place. So we'll have an English class, but there'll be seniors, juniors, freshmen, everybody's in all classes together. So CBL really does work because we do a lot of differentiating for the individual rather than just writing one curriculum for all. One great thing about CBL is that we give students many opportunities to master those skills. So let's say they go a whole trimester, and at the end of the trimester, there's still a few skills that they haven't really mastered. We offer something called academic seminar. So these are all the great reasons that CBL work here, but let me just explain to you what academic seminar is. It's almost like an extension of the course that they were already in. So if they were in, let's say, Trig, they didn't receive competency yet, there's probably like 2 or 3 skills that they haven't mastered. We give them extra time to finish that work. So sometimes it can be as quick as a week or 2, sometimes it takes a little bit longer. But during this time, they work with their teacher, sometimes they work with a para, and they come up with a plan in order for them to move forward and receive competency in that course. So this school year, we have 51 students who have moved from AC, which is almost competent, to competency. So 25 in math, 14 in humanities, and 12 in science. So just some of the highlights of CBL at SeaCoast. And just bear with me, I'm going through a ton of data right now, and that is not my strong suit, but I'll do the best I can to explain everything. So some of the highlights at SeaCoast. So we no longer have students failing because of attendance. So last year, the first year that we were using CBL, for trimesters 1 and 2, so 49 students who had 7 or more absences earned CO or EC in their math class. So in the year before, all those students would have actually failed math. And when you're in an alternative school, it's just not an option to continue to keep failing classes over and over again. And as you guys know, I know that people have not the greatest idea of what an alternative school is, but the majority of our students are not bad kids. They're not kids in trouble. They just have a hard time making it to school every day. Sometimes it's socio-emotional. Sometimes they are one of the earners in their house and they have to go to work. It can be a lot of reasons, but failing for attendance at an alternative school isn't the greatest thing. So CBL has been wonderful for our students. So last year in trimester 1, 29 students were able to reach the CO or EC, and they also would have failed due to attendance. And last year, trimester 2, 55 students who would have failed because of attendance in their humanities course due to 7 or more absences. So this is the ELA overall grading comparison. So in 2018 and 2019, 49% of the students would have failed. In 2019, 2020, that dropped to 37%. I know that it's post CBL, but it's also pre-COVID. So it looks like a small passing rate, but it's still an improvement. So we increased the passing rate from 51% to 63%. In 2020-21, this year, AC started at 15 students, which is about 21%, and it was reduced to 9 students. So that means from trimester 1 this year, an additional 6 students were able to earn competency. In the old system, they would have just had to repeat the entire course, and they were able to do that in that academic seminar. So for math, 2018 year, 41% failure rate. In the school year of 2019-20, 45%. When T1 ended, trimester 1 ended last year, there were 17 students that were at almost competent. 15 of those 17 were able to complete their math course because of the academic seminar. And again, those students would have failed if we had continued to go on with the failing because of attendance. This year, in T1, we had similar, at the end of the trimester, 18 students received almost competent, and after the academic seminar, those 16 of the 18 were able to make competency. So it is really making a huge difference. In science, after CBL, the passing rate is increased by 7%. And again, this year, the passing rate increased another 12% after T1. So just a quick overview of everything. So during T1 and T2, a total of 218 courses were completed by students who would have otherwise failed because of attendance. So I think that is such a great thing to highlight about SeaCoast. Our students work hard here just like they work hard at the high school. They just need to be given some extra time and some other opportunities to make it happen. But I am happy with the way CBL has really played out for SeaCoast. Mr. Magno did a really good job of putting it together. I know the coaches worked really hard. When I was putting this presentation together, the coaches had told me that they had presented it for you, maybe not last year, but the year before, whenever, right before it was being introduced, but it's really been a great thing so far. So I wanted to share with you some of the student perspective about CBL, because I think that's important as well. There's always adults that will tell you that this is great, this is really working, but the students are the ones that are really doing the work, and they're, this is their program. So let me see if I think I could actually view this now. I don't need my notes anymore after the data is over. Let me see.
I like competency-based grading better because it focuses on my learning while keeping me updated about my progress. The old system cared more about numbers and points, which meant even though a student might know the material, they could still fail because they didn't turn in a sufficient amount of assignments. I like the new grading system because it is easier to understand. My family likes it better. They understand a 3 or 4 is, showing competency. And I like seminar because it gives you an extra opportunity to show competency in that class that you're taking seminar for.
Hi, my name is Yassine, and I like the new system grading because it's easier to get your work done. And if you have a 2, it's easier to get a 3 because you can do more work, and that will make it easier for your grades.
Hello, my name is Alexis Reno. This is my 2nd year at SeaCoast, and personally, I like the competency-based learning a lot better than the traditional grading, for the simple fact that it really shows us where we can progress in and where we still need help. So,
I like the old grading system over the new grading system because I felt like it was easier to understand our progress and knowing what we need to do to pass. And what benefited me with the new system was that it's easier to get caught up, but it's harder to know what we need to do to pass.
So you get to hear a little bit of the student perspective. I don't mind that the last student said that he liked it the other way before. I think that's important to hear because their voice matters in this. But I do think that the students really appreciate having extra time, more one-on-one attention, having lessons differentiated towards them to help them succeed. And I think that they like the idea that they're not just being pushed along in an alternative school, they're actually being forced to learn the content. It's not like a quick fix just to get out coming to SeaCoast. So I also have the teacher perspective about what they think. Let me move here.
I am Eric Fearing. I teach math here at SeaCoast. I think the competency-based learning philosophy has caused students to realize that what we do in class is a means to an end, where they are trying to learn something in the math content and not just complete the task that's put in front of them for the sake of getting a grade. And the way we've been able to raise the rigor of what competency means compared to what passing used to mean by making sure students are always in their learning zone. If a student is struggling to finish a trimester course, they can finish it in seminar the next trimester and get a little bit of time. And even if they don't pass the class or get close enough to be in seminar, they do have to repeat, then they're going to be able to take a class that's right for them over again instead of finishing out a year-long curriculum where they're going to struggle through the second half and probably fall further behind.
Chelsea Burnwine-Fryer. I'm an English teacher at SeaCoast. Competency-based learning for me as a teacher has been really successful. It helps me focus specifically on students' academic ability, as well as communicate to my students why it's important to not just learn a skill in order to pass, but learn a skill in order to understand it and grow as a learner. Instead of trying to hit a certain percentage in a course, they're working towards specific skills and independence in displaying those skills, as well as encouraging them to revise any work they need to and enhance their learning overall. Hello, my name is Kay Sarah Thomasina, and I'm one of the technology teachers at SeaCoast High School. As an educator, CBL has afforded me an opportunity to become more creative with my instruction and my assessment. I am able to personalize my class to my students' needs and interests. In return, more students buy into my class, they feel supported, and are more willing to take academic risks. Despite growing up with so much technology, many of our students may not feel confident on how to properly use and create using these emerging technologies. However, since adopting CBL, I've noticed students are changing their mindsets in technology classes. Before CBL, many students think in terms of pass or fail. I either understand the material or I don't. CBL has our students now thinking in terms of growth. Many understand that they are adding more skills to their ever-expanding toolbox.
Hi, this is a video regarding the competency-based learning model at SeaCoast. I think there are some positives to it. I think students have an opportunity to revise, which I think is extremely critical to student learning. And learning the competencies, giving the competencies to the students of what their expectations are. What I wish we did a little better at SeaCoast is have the students more involved involved when we planned this and executed it. I'm a big proponent of student voice, and I'm not sure if students had an opportunity to discuss it before we implemented it. And I think there are times that students are confused on where they are and how they can become confident. But I think if we keep working together and we do it correctly and get students more involved in the process and the decision making, I think it could be a good tool for students. But I think it's critical that we get students a little more involved on what we're trying to accomplish.
So now you have the teacher and the student perspective. I definitely am happy that so many teachers have really bought into CBL. I think that's the reason why it's been so successful here at SeaCoast. It is very hard to change that mindset that you don't have to think about numbers anymore. But it has been great. I'm happy that I was here to really see it in its first full year. Just like Mr. Flynn, the last teacher that spoke, we still have work to do. It's not perfect, and we should always be working towards improving every year. As we move forward, I think having student voice is definitely crucial. I would like to look at how much teacher subjectivity there is in it without having grades. Sometimes I do worry that it's still too much up to the teacher if a student is moving forward or not. So these are things that we will look at a little bit more moving forward, but I do believe that the staff and the students are really doing a great job with CBL. So the next part of my presentation is about family engagement. There's three things that I would like to talk about is the parent experience here, restorative practices, and a new communication log that we created. I picked parent journey first. Oftentimes, when we're talking about a student being moved to an alternative school, there's a lot of emphasis on how the student feels and is the student going to be okay. And I think a huge part that we're leaving out is the parents. Oftentimes, a student that ends up in an alternative school has had many, many years of no success in a traditional school. They probably have started receiving phone calls back to elementary school. And as a parent, and as a parent of a child myself who struggles in school, you dread the phone calls. It kind of makes your stomach upset every time you see the phone ring. And by the time your child is in an alternative school, I think a lot of parents may have just given up altogether on the system and just want to just give them a diploma and get them out. And for me, I really don't want to have that relationship with parents here. I would like to repair their feelings about what school is, because there's a lot of great things going on here. And as students get older, that parent involvement wanes as they move to high school. In elementary, all parents want to show up, grandparents, everybody goes, but as it goes over through the years, high school, you just lose it. And by the time you're in alternative high school, it's completely gone. I'm just going to say an elephant in the room. In all of my meetings with families, I've had some really difficult meetings about what parents think SeaCoast is. Revere is a very small community, and all roads lead somehow to SeaCoast, whether it's their brother went here, their mother went here, a friend went there, and time again, I'm hearing just not really positive stories or positive experiences that they've had here. And that breaks my heart because that's not what SeaCoast is now. And I would hate for any parent or uncle or aunt to have come through here and had a negative experience and then be told that there's no other options for you but the place that you had a negative experience. That just sounds horrible to me. I've had meetings with parents that have said that they were traumatized here as children themselves. And I mean, I don't even know what to say to that, but they're telling me, and they're telling me for a reason. Maybe they need to get it off their chest. Maybe it's just the fear of sending their child here, but they're telling me that information. And I don't want to lead a school where things like that happen or anybody feels like that when they come into the doors of the school. So some of the things we're doing to improve family engagement. So our school adjustment counselors, now that we've started accepting more and more kids, there's a new student family entry meeting with every student that comes in. And then they send a follow-up survey after the meeting just to see how it went, what worked, what didn't work, so we can improve that process. New student circles. If you don't know, SeaCoast is a restorative justice school. Half of our staff has been trained on tier 1 or up to tier 3. So we're still working hard to get everybody trained in restorative practices. So when a new student comes in, we try to have new student circles to get the students comfortable, because it is a transition, leaving all of your friends and everything you've known when you come over to SeaCoast. And if you're coming trimester 3, most likely you're a senior. So it's even harder because you've had 4 years at the high school, and now in the home stretch, you're not with your peers anymore. We are looking to move towards family restorative circles and support groups for SeaCoast families. Like I said, hearing so many of these stories time and time again, I feel like there needs to be some kind of support for these families that have had a traumatic experience here. And I don't want to hear it in just like a one sentence in an entry meeting. I want to give them a space to talk about it, at least hear what happened, and be able to move forward from it so they can feel safe with their child here. So these are things that we're just moving towards for the future here. As far as communication, like I said, oftentimes people think that you don't need to call home in high school, but you still need to call home. And I'm pretty sure every parent, no matter what age your child is, you still appreciate a phone call home, no matter what the situation is. So like I said, the majority of our students, we have a serious attendance issue. And when I first got here, I saw the numbers and I'm like, well, what are we doing? And it just kind of was like, I felt like we were just spinning and accepting that this is the way it has to be, because these are the type of kids that we have. And I really pushed for more communication home. I had a group of teachers create a log, just a Google sheet, to make it easier for teachers, because everybody was kind of doing their own thing as far as communication. So it's a centralized Google sheet where they input the data, and then we can kind of look at the responses as they keep coming in. We started February 1st, and we went from February 1st till April 13th just to look at the data to see if it made any difference. And when we started, attendance was kind of at 40%. Again, we looked at it in April. It was between 60 to 67%. Over these last 3 weeks of the new trimester starting, because we started at the end of March, our staff made 53 positive phone calls home to families, whether it was just introducing themselves, letting them know that this is a new trimester, attendance is sharing syllabus, just trying to make that connection back to home. And also in these last 3 weeks, we've hit our all-time high with attendance up at 70%, which is great, especially when we had weeks where we were in the 30s. So it feels really good to have reached 70%. I can't really talk about that week leading up to vacation, but prior to that, we had reached our all-time high. So I really think that all the outreach home is making a difference, and I hope that people are feeling more comfortable about sending their children to SeaCoast. The 13 or so seniors that we've received in the last few weeks seemed to be really happy, seem to be really engaged, and happy that they made the switch. Sad that it took them so long to do it, but they are flourishing here. So that is where we're at SeaCoast this year. So this is the time for any questions if you guys have any.
Thank you, Dr. Mulligan. Any members have any questions? Mrs. Rizzo?
No questions. I am just so impressed with the numbers as far as looking back with your the CBL and how many more are taking part in even the electives. I think the numbers are great. The attendance numbers are great. And I like the idea of including your families with the support and restorative circles. I'm sure they could use some of those restorative circles in their own personal life. So I think it's just a great collaborative effort for everyone. So thank you, Dr. Mulligan, for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Rizzo. Any other members? Ms. Ty? Ms. Ty, you're on mute.
Okay, Dr. Mulligan, you know, from the beginning of SeaCoast, there was such negativity everywhere that it was really heartbreaking. Heartbreaking about the way people thought about the kids. I remember we had a neighborhood meeting, and I live in the neighborhood. We had a neighborhood meeting, and people said such terrible things about making judgment that all negative about the kids who would go to SeaCoast. And over the years, I think that the administrators, the kids themselves, of course, and the parents have all worked toward eliminating that negativity. It's true that some of it still exists, but I think the participation of SeaCoast kids, helping some of those babies over in the early childhood and some of the little kids in kindergarten over at the Beachmont School, that has really given them a place of distinction in the community. And I know that you're up against that because sometimes these kids have internalized all this negative impression of themselves. And that's probably one of the hardest things to overcome. But I myself have had an experience working with them when we were able to do a different food bank out of one of the local churches here. I always had volunteers from SeaCoast to come early in the morning and work. And I see that you are continuing that that sort of devotion that we have toward the success of our students. And I'm happy to hear it. I'm happy that the staff is there. I think I have, as an old English teacher, I have one question. So how do they actually show competence in an English class about, say, reading a book? Or are there other experiences? Is it project-based? Or what is it that they actually do to show their competency?
Sometimes it's project-based. They use a lot of the standards as the competencies as well. So, you know, if the standard is they're able to write a 5-paragraph.
Yeah, right.
essay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that all written out and they know that do they know this is what I have to do to prove that I'm competent?
I feel like this is the next step, is to introduce that to the students, because when I first got here, you know, I'm new, so I kept asking, like,
Right.
where is everything? So I can see it. And I think a lot of it was housed in people's heads or the coaches. It was in a lot of different places. So this year we're spending a lot of time pulling everything together. We created a data team just for this. So if there were any questions or there are any parent questions, we could just easily open something or go to a drive and find that information, because it was a time when I was kind of just trying to figure out where everything was. But I think we're moving in the right direction now.
I think at some point kids were signing contracts down there under some administrator. So I didn't know whether you were still doing that or whether that had worked or not. But
well, I don't know what the contract they were signing, but I don't know. I'm sure kids sign a lot of contracts.
And I think, Carol, those were old-timey behavior contracts.
Right. I agree. I don't know how they work.
But I'll just add, with the competency-based grading, you know, I think of like a traditional test where students might be asked to identify the theme of a book that they've read, or compare and contrast the theme between 2 books that they've read, and done things like that. And if they got it wrong, it was wrong, and they lost the points, and that was the end of it. And with competency-based grading, there are, you know, multiple opportunities with every book that they read that the teacher can ask a question about what the theme was. And if 5 out of 6 times the kid understands enough to relay what the theme is to the teacher, then we know that child understands theme, and they get credit for that competency. instead of
Great.
just having that one wrong mark on that test that one day in November, that may have been an off day.
Yeah.
And, you know, that is a piece of it as well.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chai. Any other members? Okay.
Okay, I want to thank Dr. Mulligan for her presentation and her team for contributing. It's always so helpful for everybody to understand better exactly what's happening in our schools and how teachers are working to engage students and how administrators are making it easier for teachers to do that, and engage families as well, which is a big piece of your work. And we're just really thankful to have you on the team, Dr. Mulligan.
Thank you, guys. Have a good
Thank
week.
you.
Thank you.
The next item on the superintendent's report is a presentation that Dr. Garcia is actually going to lead, and that is with the family liaisons. And I'm going to elevate, I know he has 3 of them here to present with him tonight. So I'm going to bring up Stephanie Wixon. I'm bringing up Leslie Klein-DeChico. And I'm going to bring up Sandra Figueroa, 3 of our parent liaisons. And Dr. Garcia, I am making you a co-host, and you should be able to share your screen, and I'll toss the mic to you. Don't forget to unmute.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Galley. And thank you, members of the school committee, for the opportunity to really talk about the family liaison. Framed within our school district vision and improvement plan to create a more just, fair, and equitable school system for our diverse students and families and the community. This past year, we have created the family liaison position for our 11 schools dispersed throughout the district. In our view, this was a long overdue program, considering the needs and demographics of our students' population and our families as well. This year has been extremely hard and challenging for many of our families and our students. And certainly this position has really been an add value to our school district. The presentation will go as follows. Leslie will provide a context about the challenges that we have and why the family liaison positions or the family liaisons are in the best and uniquely positioned to address those challenges. Obviously, many of those challenges have been outlined in our school improvement plans, and also some of the things that we have delineated in the family engagement policy that has been put in place, actually developed and approved this past year, particularly in those areas that have to do with fostering an inclusive and equitable community where all members are valued, and empowered to contribute to our ongoing improvement. That's going to be 4 minutes. Leslie will walk us through that, but she will particularly focus on the culture competency, her experience as a family liaison, and also some of the challenges that she's been facing, she's been addressing as along the way. Leslie?
Hi, everyone. I'm Leslie Klein-DeChico. I am the family liaison for the Susan B. Anthony Middle School. The best way that I can describe family liaison position for me is a blessing. And the reason is because though I've never really experienced any specific situation with any of my children while they were going to the Revere Public Schools, I did not have the language barrier that some of our families do have. I have 3 languages on me, Spanish, English, and Italian, but I've seen parents struggle with communication with their teachers, the administration, principal, assistant principal, and mostly is due to language barrier. They don't know how to communicate with them because they don't speak the English language. Some parents do go through the whole school year without knowing who their child's teacher is, not even their names, or who their principal is. I've seen that myself. I used to work for Generations Incorporated, is a nonprofit organization that works with improving literacy, works with K to third grader students in elementary schools. And most of the students that I work with were non-English spoken students. Small group in a classroom, 4 to 6 students. And it's incredible how these young kids push themselves to the point that they want to learn how to communicate, read English, understand the language. And the biggest satisfaction that I've had is when I do see some of these students moving on into other grades and coming up to me and saying, "Hi, Miss L," in English, and having a full conversation in English. My ears just go up right now as I'm telling you. It's a really amazing accomplishment for me. I could honestly pat myself on the shoulder and said, I think I did something right, because here they are in 4th grade, 5th grade, middle school, and they speaking to me in English, which is great. I'm a mother of 2. My son is a recent graduate from the Revere High School class of 2020. And my daughter now is a 9th grade student at the Revere High School. And this whole pandemic has really, kind of made it hard for them, but they were able to manage. Unlike other families right now, working as the family liaison at the Susan B. Anthony, I'm one of those parents calling family.
Did we lose her? I don't know. Leslie, are you there?
Being very honest. Oh, I lost you.
We lost you for a minute, but you're back.
Okay. And one case was a student who was having a little difficulty. He just I called him, I asked permission to the mom, and I asked, "Do you mind if I speak to your son?" Sure. I called him and I asked him, "What is it that you don't want or like about school?" He's like, "Honestly, I don't want to be remote." I'm like, "Okay, you may not want to be remote, but unfortunately you still have to do the work. Otherwise you will not be able to move on to wherever you want to move on, whether it's college, whether it's in life, you still have to do the work." I said, "Let's make a deal. Sign into class, at least you have attendance, number 1. Ask or request the teacher to give you the work. You complete the work and turn it in. And now not only you have attendance, now you have a grade. And then you could log off. But that's not going to be something that you're going to be doing constantly. So let's start with that and let's move on." It was a satisfaction when I did go into Power School and see this student logged on into his math class. Mom was happy, very excited. So, I mean, family liaisons, it's something that is really past due. I wish I had family liaison when I was going through my kids with preschool and middle school and high school. But now that we are here, I really want to stress how much I think it's really needed, especially now that we're getting ready to go in full-time into school. Our job is going to become very much more than what we're doing. So I hope to get the opportunity to help more families that are struggling with balancing work, taking care of their kids who are learning remotely right now. Family liaisons don't have all the answers and communicate them to the families, but I'm hoping that we could work not only with teachers, but also with the administration and get this work done. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Leslie. That was powerful. Now we're gonna have Sandra. Sandra is gonna talk a little bit about why she's so proud to be part of this team. Sandra?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here. My name is Sandra Figueroa, and I am family liaison from Darvivia High School. I am honored to be part of this team because I know how much families who have English as their second language need the support of people like us in order to maximize the output their children are able to achieve from the school system, where languages barriers will ultimately make it difficult for them otherwise do so. We play a critical role in meeting the objectives of the school improvement plan by
Sandra, I think we lost you.
in ways that build trustfully relationships, foster understanding, and address each stakeholder's needs. As Leslie indicated, our family have many needs. Through our own experience and culture's competence, well as through training programs we have been provided, we are working to address those needs. Stephanie will now share more details on how that is happening.
Now, Estefania, she is the family liaison coordinator. She's going to walk us through the rest of the presentation.
Good evening.
Stephanie?
Good evening. Can you hear me? Yes? Awesome. Good evening. My name is Estefani Wixon. I'm the family community coordinator, family liaison coordinator. I am blessed and happy to be here with all of you. Many of the people on here I've known. Dr. Garcia was my principal. I graduated 2011. I feel kind of old, but the Revere Public School systems ever since I was little. My siblings as well. I have 2 children, one in the Hill, one at the Lincoln. It's just a privilege to be able to work with the families of the, Revere Public Schools, the community where I grew up. So it's an honor to be here with you guys today. Just showing you the program that we have right now with our liaisons. I am so grateful that now we have 11 liaisons in each school, which is amazing. They're part-time right now. Hopefully we can get them, full-time, because they do so much in the little time that they have, but they do a lot. And I am so proud to be part of them, part of the group as well. If you see the slideshow, I believe Dr. Garcia shared it. I'm not sure if you guys can see it or not, but it says, what is the role of our family liaisons in shaping the culture of our So our family liaisons are here to promote and provide support for families. As members of our school community, they are fully aware of the challenges that affect our culturally and linguistically diverse families. So I also want to point out all of our liaisons, 11 of them, speak 2 or understand more than 2 languages, which is such an important thing, I believe now, because, we have such a diverse community in Revere now. So it's a blessing that if I need, so if I need Arabic, I can contact one of the families. Also, family liaisons, I can also reach out to one of our liaisons that speaks a little Portuguese, which is all the Spanish speaker liaisons can understand Portuguese, but it's good to have somebody that can actually speak it. We also have for our Arabic families. So it's just a blessing to have that multilingual group of parents, because we all are parents of Revere Public School students, which is awesome too. So that we're all living in Revere. We all have students that attend Revere Public Schools. And I think that's just a perfect asset, truthfully. Also, among other responsibilities, family liaisons help facilitate parent-school communication, community agency referrals, encourage and promote family engagement in schools, foster trust between families, schools, and community, support higher expectations for academic achievement for all students through meaningful collaboration with staff and faculty. Some examples that we have, I'm a little flustered. But finding information on school policies, program activities, school resources. We also navigate parent portal to review children's grades and attendance. So we do also help with the attendance. Also parent teacher conferences, LPAC, CPAC, whenever there is 504, PTO, any other related meeting, we're a part of it. We also help interpret during meetings as well, which is such an extra help as well. So allowing that connection, I think is just that building trust with our families is so important. And so we're building basically the gap between home, community, and our schools. So I would love to be able to, speaking towards future, see if we can create like a hub, each school, so that there's like a community resource center, and the family liaisons could be at the head of it. And I think that's so important for all schools to have, just like a little area or somewhere that go brochures or there's information. Although we are doing that right now. So for example, there's a lot of issues that families are going through right now due to COVID. We're seeing it more like when it comes to housing, rental assistance. We refer to RAFT, CAPIC, and we just collaborate with a lot of community partners. Also, any parents that need like English classes or anything that can help them, better understand the school. We're basically the connector. So I'm happy that we're able to do that for our families in the different languages. Also, we are currently being trained by Brandon Keaton. She is from Unify. So it's to increase the capacity of the liaisons to have effective two-way conversations with families and track the results of those conversations. Increase trust in the school system and knowledge of school resources. Increase the capacity of liaisons to engage with parents through PTO, through LPAC, CPAC, organize and facilitate family engagement events reflective of rich diversity of Revere. Eventually now, due to COVID, it's difficult to have meetings where we can all have with family, but eventually to be able to facilitate us with the liaisons, training, workshops, and things for families to just better, whatever we can do to help the families. I think that's the best thing that we can do, especially the students, and increase the capacity of liaisons to operate the family engagement policy, which is 6 fundamentals that we're working on. Also through the developmental, sorry, I'm just reading the equity. So basically, I would love to just focus on inclusion. I think that's very important. So it's important for us to make families feel part of, but in order for them to feel like included. And that's the big part, which I think that we're doing our best job to do that right now. And I can only imagine what we're gonna do once the students are back in school, once we are able to do events or meetings with families, to have that at least face-to-face or mask-to-mask. But that would be something that I look forward to in the liaisons as well. I'm so sorry. So we have had other trainings, professional development, our liaison orientation, training of trainers with the National Association for Family and School and Community Engagement. Also convening training with LPAC. Also a professional development workshop with the Greater Schools Partnership about race, racism, racial equity, equitable community engagement as well. So I'm just so happy that all of our liaisons have, their degrees. Some of them have, they've been to school. They're all parents, caregivers of Revere Public School students. So I think that's important as well. There's a lot of resources that we frequently give to families provided by the family liaisons, which is we work closely along after Revere response team. We all listen on Monday call at 10 in the morning. So we have all that information, those resources to give to our families as well, with the food pantry, the USDA food distribution Also the Revere Public School Internet Voucher Referral Program. Also PEBT, that's something big that we've been having a lot of calls on. A lot of families, they don't really know what to do. So we do use our asset that we do have Johnson, which is our Revere Public School SNAP coordinator that works out of the Parent Information Center. So that's awesome that we have that connection. Rental assistance through RAF, Metro Housing of Boston. I also contact Valentina Moreno if she ever needs, if we ever need anything. She's always open to help, as well as Dimple Rana. Also fuel assistance with CAPIC. I was a family advocate for 3 years, so it's awesome that I can be able to provide information on a program that's so helpful for our families. Also, School with a Two is awesome. She provides classes for our families, and also another big resource guide of Revere Public Schools as well. Which is Women Encouraging Empowerment, whatever our families need, any classes that they may not be able to attend for Revere Community School, they are able to attend for at We. We've helped a lot with COVID, vaccination, testing, just guiding families to where they have to go and what they need to do to be safe. Also with childcare vouchers, a lot of people that they need, like after school programs and things like that, especially during like the pandemic, it was difficult for a lot of parents that work and, juggle all that stuff. Also just provide help with interpretation and translation. Partnership with parents, follow up also with parents about their flu shots and things like that, and student attendance. So yeah, I talk a lot, but hopefully you guys got what we have been doing as a group. And I just want to let you guys know I'm just honored to be a part of them. They're amazing. They're all amazing moms. We're all moms. But it's just awesome that we could be able to work with Revere Public Schools and that especially just help the families right now during a time that they need the help and they just need the guidance. And I think the Revere Public Schools now has that connector, which is the family liaisons, 11 of them. So grateful that you guys gave us the opportunity to even have this program for this year. So I want to give you thanks and amounts of gratitude. Thank you so much. Dr. Garcia.
Yes. So I just want to thank you for the great presentation, and thank you, school committee members, for listening to the wonderful things that the family liaisons have been doing.
Yeah.
For the time being that that this program has been in place since October, I believe, or September, I think they have done a tremendous amount of work. Even with the equity audit that's going on right now, they have been played a key role in asking families and tweeting, putting information out there for parents to sign up for focus group interviews and also to take the surveys and things like that. The ability to speak many languages and be able to engage in conversation with so many of our immigrant parents and children, it's been just amazing, because most of them, as has been stated, they speak 2-3 languages, and that's something, especially in a district that has so many low-income families. It's a Title I and Title III district, obviously with a lot of ELL students and many immigrant parents. This program certainly is something that is worth, and I'm so glad that we were able to really put it in place, and they have shown that obviously it's something that we should have done a long time ago, but I'm glad we have it now, and hopefully even next year they'll continue to do great things in our in our district. So just want to thank you for that.
And I'll just add, great presentation, you guys. And Stephanie, the school committee did vote last week to make the parent liaison positions full-time for next school year. So.
Wow. Thank you.
So this is a great place to share that good news.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I want to cry.
Awesome. I did Dr. Garcia to see if he show the second page of the slideshow that has all the pictures of the liaisons. I would just like, do due to the vacation and things like that. A lot of them are on vacation right now this week, but this is our amazing group. And Carolina Ruiz is in Beachmont Elementary. We have Suheiris Ryan, that she is in The Hill. Sonia Aguirre, that's in Lincoln. We have Hora Godban, that is in the Wayland. Arminda Canas, that's in Paul Revere. Our Leslie Klein de Chico, that's at Susan B. Anthony. Khadija Frajat, that's in Rumney Marsh Academy. Cindy Pass, that is in Garfield Middle. And Sandra Figueroa, that is in Revere High School. And Wafa Kinawi, that is in SeaCoast. So this is our group, and I'm excited. Thank you for that news, Dr. Kelly.
And I can also share with you that in our conversations with principals, they've said, you know, one of the most valuable additions we've had through COVID has been the parent liaisons. They don't know what they would do without them. So, and every single principal has echoed that same sentiment.
Thank you.
So the family liaisons are ready for any questions you may have.
Any committee members have any questions or comments? Mrs. Rizzo?
Yes, just a comment. I wanted to say it's so nice to see some of the older faces. Leslie, I don't mean by age, I just mean recognition. Some of the new faces, Sandra, welcome. And Estefania, I don't know how you've been doing this work for the past couple of years by yourself. And I'm just so glad that you are now surrounded with a great team. And you at the helm will do wonderful things for our families. And I've heard from a couple of families how they have been so grateful. I know one family was at the Hill and she was talking about the family liaison there. So I'm just sure this is going to be a fantastic positive thing for Revere Public Schools. So thank you.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you, Mrs. Rizzo. Ms. Ty?
Well, I'd just like to echo that, that, you know, the parents think it's wonderful, but the teachers think it's wonderful too, because they have a resource. When teachers feel frustrated that they can't communicate for the sake of their children, that now they have somebody who can. And it was an easy vote to put you folks full-time, because you have made such a wonderful impression everywhere. Thank you so much for the service. Keep up the good work.
Carol, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ty.
Class of 2011.
Any other members? Mrs. Gravellisi.
Thank you, Mayor Arrigo. I just want to first say hello to all of you, because I have not officially met all of you just yet. And, you know, just let you know how happy we are to have you. Since the start of this program back in October, and through these difficult times, we've heard nothing but such positive feedback from parents and administrators of how valuable the family liaisons have been. So I'm just so happy to have all of you on board.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Gravellisi. Any other members? Okay. Thank you all for the tremendous work. Keep up the great work. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
I'm actually going to go out of order for the next item on the superintendent's report, just recognizing the time. Dr. Perella has been waiting to do his presentation, so I'm going to bring him up to do item G now, and then we can go back to the other pieces. Okay. And if our parent liaisons want to call it a night, they're more than welcome to do that. I know it's getting late.
Thank you again. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you so much. Good night. Hello, Dr. Perella.
Hello, Sandra.
I would love to add that Sandra's been an amazing resource and asset. Like Dr. Kelly mentioned, I can speak for the principals as well. This has been one of the biggest additions to our staff, and very thankful for the hindsight for it.
Thank you.
So, Dr. Perella, I invited you here tonight to share information. I know you shared information with students and families already, but the committee was anxious to hear a little bit more about plans for graduation and end of year for seniors. So welcome and thank you for being here tonight. Another one of our staff members who's technically on vacation.
I'm very happy to be here, and I enjoyed the entire presentation so far, so it hasn't been a problem at all, but thank you.
Great.
So we do have some dates and some things I can share with you. I wasn't sure if you wanted me to share that presentation that we showed to the city officials, or just to sort of go over some of the important pieces of information.
I think you, I don't know, whatever you think is better.
Well, I can talk about it, and then if people would like some more information, I can always share that through a link if need be. Basically, we have identified the night of Tuesday, June 8th at 6 p.m. as the night for our graduation ceremony. This was approved by the school committee. We also presented the plan for this evening to city officials, fire and police department and health officials. And I will say that this is, at its base, it's the same plan as that we put together last year, which is really sort of a minimized, smaller, controlled event that could take place and that would meet the needs of the students and the families. That we would have a traditional graduation that would be in person, that would happen at the stadium. This is something that students have told us over and over again, which is their highest priority. Unfortunately, last year we were unable to do that, but this year it looks like we are a go for June 8th at 6 p.m. The basics of this event will be that each graduate will receive two guest tickets that will enable those guests to sit with them on the field in the stadium itself for the ceremony. That will limit the number of people that are in the stadium. That will fall under the guidelines by the CDC and the state and DESE, of course. And in the stands themselves will only be some dignitaries and faculty of Riviera High School. So each student who's graduating will get those two tickets, and that we will adhere to that limit. Everything will be under the CDC guidelines with spatial distancing. Masks, of course, will be worn, and then it'll be very organized and somewhat more brief than it has been in the past, where there'll be less speeches. Primarily, students will be speaking. In fact, only students will be speaking, and we'll have sort of a smaller ceremony, but we hope it to be really special and that will meet the needs of our students and their families. Our last day for seniors will be, the last academic day will be Friday, May 28th. And then that following week, we'll have graduation rehearsals and all the things that happened in the last week to sort of to catch up and to get all the logistics out of the way. As far as the end of the year celebrations go, everything will be virtual this year. We are now coordinating with the elementary and middle schools to ensure that these events don't take place at the same time, because of course, all of us are celebrating different end of the year celebrations at this pretty much in the same 4 weeks. So we'll be coordinating with Dr. Kelly's office to ensure that these things happen all separately, and then we will share out that information as soon as we're able to identify it. Apart from that, everything's going really well at the high school. I think we've been able to bring back students in an effective way. I think there's some really excellent learning happening. We're learning lots of lessons this year, and we're looking forward to applying them in the future. And depending on what happens over the next few weeks, I know there's a possibility that the state will ask us to return students full time. And if that happens, we'll be ready to do it. And we'll make sure that it happens. So that's really sort of a summary of the end of the year events and information. If there's any questions I can answer, I'd be very happy to answer them.
Thank you, Dr. Perella. Mr. Franti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Perella, do we have an approximate idea how many seniors are graduating this year?
Well, we have a total of up to 509 students can graduate. That includes SeaCoast. It includes out-of-placement students. and a couple other small categories of students. That typically doesn't happen, that all students who can graduate do. So a lot of it comes down to the next 4 or 5 weeks, really, where we're kind of chasing down students to ensure that they get all the requirements done. There's been a lot of pressure put on students in the past 2 months by Dr. Rockwood, who's done an amazing job of keeping track of all the students and how they're doing, and the guidance counselors, of course, as well. We feel as if we're doing relatively well compared to other years. Of course, this year has been extremely challenging. So we do hope that we're going to finish strong in the last 4 weeks.
And my last question, will anybody be able to attend the graduation without a ticket?
No, because of the guidelines, we're going to have to do, not only will students have to register for the event, but then they're going to have to sign some basically some forms that say that they're not feeling sick, or if they are feeling sick, they won't show up. There's a whole list of guidelines that we have to operate within and under. So it'll be very tightly organized. In fact, people won't even be able to be allowed into the stadium once the ceremony begins, because all of the guests will be on the field. So we're going to have a cutoff time, probably 15 minutes before the actual ceremony begins. That unfortunately, at that point, we're going to have to limit the people coming into the stadium. We will have everything live streamed, which of course is not a big it's not the best thing, but it's also an option, obviously, for those family members who are unable to attend.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We are still required to do contact tracing and do all of those pieces. So we need to be very clearly organized in who's where, pre-registration, as Dr. Perella said, so we know who the guests are for each student and where they were seated should something develop after the fact.
Mr. Sinella, I saw your hand up.
Yes, just through Dr. Perella. How do you anticipate policing admission without police protection or without police activities? You can't expect the teachers to be the enforcers. I mean, are you and your staff in compliance with the police department, the fire department, to make sure that you don't get a rush at the gate? You don't have, again, I mean, how many, is going to be one entrance, two entrances, three entrances? I mean, logistically, you've said you've worked it through, and I'm quite certain that you have. But what assurance do we have that you're going to be able to comply with, as Dr. Kelly mentioned, follow through people, guests, and everything like that?
So part of it is really the communication, I think, is essential to really convey that this isn't something that we're just sort of hatching and creating, that this is something we have to operate within and under those guidelines. But we have been meeting with and collaborating with the police and fire departments and the Board of Health in the city. We expect to be working with them. In fact, part of the supervising, I would say, of the lines outside the stadium would fall under the police department's umbrella. So we would work in conjunction with them. And we do have a limited number of entrances that allow people into the stadium that will be operated and controlled. And we're going to do our very best, of course, to communicate the critical nature and the reasons why we're doing this, and then hopefully we expect to have enough support within the school department as well as the police and fire department to really ensure that it's safe and smoothly organized.
You also made reference that more than once that they'll be on the field. Is that the assumption, just the students, or parents going to be on the field also? So
in order to really organize this in a way that makes sense, what we did was we created, we'll be creating pods on the football field. So there'll be these 18 by 11 feet pods, or space, basically. It's not actual pods, it's just a space of land. And on that will be one student and two of their guests. And when we spread out those pods across the entire field, it then creates the distancing need, the spacing needed to fall under the guidelines, as well as meet all the numbers of students that we have. This is why we're not allowing guests into the bleachers, because we can't really control.
Okay, so there'll be no one in the bleachers.
Well, there will be some people in the bleachers. We have we measured and marked off the bleachers last year that showed that we could safely, if we use every other row, I think it's up to like 100 people can be actually seated there, distanced from each other. So
those will be teachers, all of us, any other elected officials who will be invited, folks like that, that would be in the bleachers.
And how will they get their diplomas?
What we would have to do under the guidelines, I would have to place the diploma on the table. Student would come up and pick up that diploma. We would have a stage. There would be some students on the stage. So one of the things, you know, it's interesting what students really want. And what they wanted was to do this all together as a group, not to be broken into smaller groups. They wanted to have it at the stadium and they wanted to walk across the stage. So we're able to fortunately meet all those wants and do that in a safe way.
Well, congratulations. I hope everything works out. It sounds as though it'd be well on its way. And I'm quite certain, you alluded to the fact more than once, it's what the kids want. And it's what they've been through. This is a small token that we're able to do. Much more work on you and your staff, but my compliment.
Well, I appreciate that. And you're absolutely right. The students are worth anything that we could do for them. So it's not a hassle at all.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Sinella. Any other members?
I'm wondering if Ryan wants to chime in at all here.
This is a new information for me, so I knew it was happening, but I mean, I prioritizing graduation because I know that was a big hitting point for a lot of students. So I'm glad that when I know who was just stated, it seems like the plan is going right in the right direction. So I'm confident that there'll be a very good ending note to class 2021. So so thank you for all the hard work you guys doing to make that happen.
Okay, Dr. Kelly, continue on.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Perella. Very much appreciated. And I'll just, in terms of athletic awards, academic awards, as Dr. Perella mentioned, those are going to be virtual, and they're working out a schedule for all of those events now. They'll be similar to what we did last year. And I know Dr. Perella is working with the athletic director, Mr. Shea, and with all of the teachers and administrators on the academic awards. So more information on that will be forthcoming.
Well, thank you, everyone. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening and the rest of the week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go back to item C on the superintendent's report, which is an update on the lottery. And I'm going to share my screen. It's not working. Okay. And Dr. Mokaba is actually going to present this piece.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. Last week, the information was sent home to families via email. Students who were in school, fifth grade students who were in school, received a hard copy of their lottery choice form as well. But an email was sent home to all families. And in this email, it included their lottery choice forms, where families are able to identify what their first choice is, their second choice, and their third choice. Also included in this email was a link to a video highlighting the 3 different middle schools. Because we are unable to do tours safely this year, we offered a video montage that has the 3 different middle school principals sharing a bit of information and a little bit of a video for each one of them that highlights their unique nature. Do you want to watch that video?
Now?
Yeah.
Let me know if it's sharing on my screen.
It's not.
Okay, give me 1 second.
While she's doing that, I can also talk through. Also in this email were two links to information sessions that are scheduled to take place on April 28th. All 3 middle school principals will be there hosting this information session. They're going to offer 2 separate times, one at 12:30 and one at 5 p.m. On April 28th.
Can you see that now? Can you see my screen now, the video? Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Mr. Paczynski, the principal of the Garfield Middle School, the only school in Revere with sweeping panoramic views of the ocean in our own. Here at the Garfield, we provide the best education to all of our students. We subscribe to the Gator Code of Respect, Responsibility, and Relationships. We develop and demonstrate respect for ourselves and others. We are responsible in our education, and we develop strong, meaningful relationships with all of our students and staff members. On top of taking the 4 core classes here at the Garfield, which are math, science, social studies, and English, students also have the opportunity to explore a variety of enrichment classes, ranging from Let's Get Moving and Puzzle Club to video game design and Project Lead the Way. So again, here we subscribe to our Gator Code of Respect, Responsibility, and Relationships. We support all of our students academically in their social growth. We provide them for success in high school and beyond to be contributing active members of the community. So I hope to see you in our hall soon, and go Gators.
Hi, I'm Joanne Willett, principal of the Susan B. Anthony Middle School, and I'd like to welcome you to SBA. The Susan B. Anthony Middle School is a place where you'll be seen and be heard. As you walk through the halls of the middle school, you'll be greeted by your friendly staff who are highly qualified to meet your academic and social emotional needs. The teachers at the SBA love what they do, and it shows in the relationships they build with their students. We have a lot of clubs to offer here at the SBA, from drama club to the GSA to golf and the art club. Students are encouraged and welcome to participate in as many clubs as they can get involved in. At SBA, we talk a lot about SBA pride. We believe that if you take personal responsibility, add in some imagination, and a splash of determination, you'll achieve excellence. We look forward to seeing you in the fall.
I'm Heather Bob. I'm the principal here at the Rumney Marsh Academy, better known as the RMA. Here at the RMA, we live by our core values of respect, motivation, and achievement. We have a robust offering of academic programs, including several new elective classes and plenty of extracurricular activities from which to choose. One of the exciting electives that we've added this year is a theater arts program, as well as a theater and music club. And we've also added a brand new elective called Unheard Voices in Literature, which explores literature offerings from diverse populations. One really exciting thing about our middle school is that we have Mr. Mafucci, our music teacher, who runs the percussion ensemble and teaches students not only the theories behind music and playing the drums, but how to perform them. Hope you enjoy this preview of what our school has to offer.
Okay, I'll put that. Did you want me to put that slide back up, Dr. Mokaba? So
I just have 2 points left. I have it in
Okay.
front of me too.
And let me just. Okay.
So as I was saying, there are 2 information sessions that will be hosted by the middle school principals on April 28th, 12:30 and 5 p.m. The lottery choice forms are due back to school no later than May 10th. So selections must be made and the forms returned no later than May 10th. The lottery will take place on May 27th. It's a Thursday night at 5 p.m. And that will be done virtually. That's it.
Any members have any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll continue on.
I'm actually going to combine the budget piece and the reopening update because I did those in one slide presentation. But just very briefly, I wanted to share the additional information that we got this week on budget. And we talked a little bit about this in the committee of the whole meeting. But we did get an update from the House Ways and Means, and they have increased our FY22 budget by $810,000, a little bit more than that, over the House One or the governor's budget, which we received in January. So that's helpful news that there'll be that additional funding there. And the next step is, as Mrs. Rizzo mentioned, the budget is now in the hands of the Senate, and they will do their work and then come out with their proposed budget. And then the Joint Committee will have to do the bit of back and forth that determines what our final budget is. So I did want to mention that. And then in terms of reopening, we will be welcoming back students to full-time in-person learning in the near term, and beginning with our early childhood through grade 5 students who will start back, those who want to, on Monday, May 3rd for a longer, more typical regular school day, and also every day instead of doing the alternating weeks. The option for those families who need it for their children to remain in full remote will still exist, but those will be the two options. They'll no longer be the hybrid in 1 week and out the next week. Our 6th through 8th grade will return in the same format on May 10th. So that's either full-time in person every day or full remote. And Dr. Perella mentioned in his presentation that we are still waiting on word from the commissioner on whether he is going to order high schools to come back to full in-person learning. He told us before vacation in a meeting that we had that he would be making the decision actually next week. He said he would decide after vacation. I guess I was a little confused when I wrote this slide. So it won't be this week, it'll be next week. And I do want to point out that there are some high schools across the Commonwealth that have already come back to full-time in-person learning. But those are places where they are able to have class sizes that are so small that they're still able to social distance. And, you know, there are different parameters that as we've talked about throughout the pandemic. Different communities have different capacities based on enrollment and other factors that determine how they make their decisions. So this is where we are with that. I did want to just share a little bit of the information from the survey that we did most recently to families inquiring about the return to in-person learning, or if they were going to stay remote or go to remote. We had just, you know, a little over 1,900 responses. And you can see the breakdown in the table here. Of the students who are currently remote, 32% have requested to return in person, and the other 68% have decided to stay full remote. Of the students who are currently hybrid, 98% are going to come back full-time in person, and only 2% have made the decision to revert to remote environment. So it's pretty interesting. We were not terribly surprised that 98% of those who are currently in the hybrid model want to stay with in-person learning. But we were a little bit surprised to see so many who are currently remote say that they want to come in full-time. Pleasantly surprised. We're glad to see the kids come back. But we also understand that that's not the right decision for all students or all families. So no judgment on anybody's decision there, but we were just surprised to see those numbers. And just for the families who didn't respond, if you didn't let us know what you wanted to do going forward, our assumption is going to be that those who are currently in the hybrid model are going to come back to full in person. That's how we're going to schedule those kids if we didn't have a response from a parent. And for those kids who are currently remote, if we didn't get a response from the parent, we're going to assume that they stay remote, and those students will be scheduled likewise as well. And those are just two quick updates that I wanted to give. So I'll pause for questions if there are any.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. Any committee members have questions or comments? None.
Okay.
Wow.
Well,
Oh, Ms. Ty.
well, I hate to say anything negative about the commissioner, but everybody's been waiting for him to say something. And you know, we're all in an impossible position here, and he is too. But I don't know.
Well, and I
Just
think
hope he
that's a big
says
piece of it. He is in a very difficult position himself.
Yeah.
You know, so I think we'll all be happy
I
to
know.
see the end of the year come and go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the last item on the superintendent's report was just the MSBA Chapter 74 programming. And I spoke a bit to the school committee about this in the committee of the whole meeting. And I wanted to just kind of foreshadow for them what this was, because I feel like when I ask you to take this vote in just a minute, it's contrary to what we've been saying about the new high school. So I really wanted to kind of explain what this is. One of the things that we have to do as part of our process with the MSBA and building a new school is engage in about an 18-month-long educational programming study. And we start by thinking about what programs we already have in the school and what we would want to have in the future. And those who have been participating have been part of our visioning sessions, know that we've been talking a lot about having career pathways and having programs that students can engage in that ultimately will lead them to an actual career. And we want to build supports around that, not only by having some of the programming in the new high school itself, but also engaging students in dual enrollmentships where they're earning college credits in that degree field, and also working with business partners to create internship possibilities for students where they're actually doing the work for a company in a particular field as part of their learning experiences. So those are all things that we are very much committed to. What they are likely to be different from are Chapter 74 programs, which are a specific category of program that has a set of guidelines defined by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, in which programs have to go through a panel review in order to be accepted and categorized as Chapter 74. So I wanted to explain all of that in a little bit of detail because I didn't want to give the misimpression that we are abandoning our efforts that I described before, that we're already going to start embarking on as soon as we can in an effort to get to a place where when we have the new high school building, we're ready to go with at least 3 career pathways that students can enter into and have those kinds of experiences I just described as part of their high school career. We are 100% dedicated to doing that. In fact, as the committee will note, when we had our budget meeting last week, you increased funding for the robotics program so that we can start our K through 12 articulation of robotics as one of the career pathways we want to pursue when we have a new high school. So having said all of that, one of the things that we need to ask the committee to do tonight is to take up a motion allowing the school district, or in support of the school district, submitting the necessary paperwork to the Massachusetts School Building Authority, indicating that we do not currently have any Chapter 74 programs, and that it is not our immediate intent to pursue any as part of the new school building. As I said, this whole educational programming piece evolves over time. And as we start to talk about what we want from our high school and what we want it to be, our ideas here might change or evolve. And we would have the opportunity down the road if we need to say, you know what, we are going to have a Chapter 74 program. But right now we need to submit the paperwork. I believe it's May 12th that's due. And so we need the committee's vote in support of that decision.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. Before we move any motions, do any members have any questions or comments on what Dr. Kelly just stated? Okay.
Okay, with that will.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, we were going to do that under motions.
Okay. We'll do it under motions then.
And so then I guess I'll say that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. We'll now move to the student representative report. Ryan, take it away.
And Ryan wants me to do two quick things here. I'm promoting your iPhone to a panelist. And do I need to make your iPhone the co-host, Ryan, or your
No,
video?
can you make the computer the co-host, if you don't mind?
Okay.
And am I coming through all right? Because on the other one, I wasn't.
Yeah, your audio is great.
Sounds great. Okay.
And I made you co-host, so you should be able to share. There you go. We can see that.
Yep. Okay. All right. So good evening, everybody. I just wanted to start off and say that the move to hybrid learning has been personally great on my end and on everybody who's been back. I've heard nothing but positive feedback of being back into the building. And for every student I know that is in the building on their in-person week, they want to go back that other week as well. And that reaches from all grade levels. And I'm glad that there is at least an attempt to return for the K-8. And I hope that the school actually takes up and just puts at least a senior class or some group in the high school back fully, because I believe that there's a lot more benefits than there is disadvantages of leaving that group hybrid. But that's something I'll get into after.
But actually, Ryan, I will jump in there because I should have said this in my presentation as well. Dr. Perella and his team are looking at student schedules to identify where they can have students back full time. It's tricky because, as you know, you might only have 18 kids in your English class, or let me use a better number than that. You might only have 14 kids in your English class, so everybody can come in, but you might be in a history class with 23, where all the students cannot be in at the same time and still have the proper social distancing. But they're still looking for ways that we can bring kids back at the high school level full-time when they can, and have spaces set up like the Learning Commons, so that when there's some overflow, you might go there for your history class, but take your other 3 classes full-time in person. It's just a lot of logistics, but they are working on that. So thank you for
and I
reminding
totally
me of
understand that, and I'm aware of all that stuff going on. I'm glad that the district is working towards that. I just want to really emphasize that I believe that there's a lot of benefits, and if we have the means to do it, then I see only positive things that can come out from that. But I definitely understand the logistical issues as far as fitting the kids in, structuring the schedules, and all the other things that go along with it. But yeah, I just wanted to run over that point. So moving on from that, I also want to talk about the winter sports. The winter sports, a lot of the athletes that were really pushing for that winter season, and they finally got it. I know that it's been a great memory for them in their high school careers, and I'm really glad that was able to happen. And there's a lot of communities around Revere that had struggles with putting on that season, and we seem to do it very flawlessly. So I know from the students, freshman class up to the senior class, they're very happy that happened. I feel we did a great job as a district getting that to work. So that's a pat on the back to us planning that out. On top of that, the class of 21 and class of 22 fundraisers there are numerous fundraisers, and I just wanted to state out, like, for the public and any committee members, all the fundraisers, all the access, all the information can be found on the Twitter accounts of Class of 21 and Class of 22 Revere High School. It is a little disappointing, but I know it's out of hands that there won't be any in-person events besides graduation. I know a lot of students are looking forward to that. But we understand that the requirements have changed, but there is a lot of fundraising that needs to be done. We are looking at multiple ways to spend the money, and we just want to make the experience for both those classes, the junior class and the senior class, assuming that the junior class will need funding for next year as well. We just want to make their experience as great as possible, and having support from the community, anybody who is able to donate, that really helps. So all that information can be found on the social media accounts with those simple handles. It's just Class of 21, Revere High School. Adding on, Fall 2 season's on the way. This is a big one for me personally, but also a big one for a lot of students at the high school. Fall 2, which is typically our fall sports, there is a lot. I feel like this season there's more sports involvement than there is any other season. There's girls volleyball, girls soccer, boys soccer, football, field hockey. The list honestly goes on, and I've seen a lot of kids really with this hybrid setting finally getting into sports, and there's been a lot more involvement, and I really think it is a positive thing going on in the community. I'm so glad that we've came this far, and hopefully as the games are about to begin or have already started just recently, that can continue, and it should be another memory to help us look back on something positive on this year. I lastly want to say that the hybrid schedule has been very good. I feel that when students, and I've heard this from feedback from all grade levels, when students are in the building, they've learned more now than what they have in remote in all its entirety. And I'm not surprised that there is a 32% of students who want to go back in person that are currently remote. I feel that there's so many advantages to being in person, and the teaching is just, it's so different, and it's something that not a lot of students are used to because we've been so used to remote teaching. So being in person, having those in-person lectures, having that involvement with teachers, it really has been honestly life-changing compared to what we faced in the last year. And I just want to say that when you're in the building, it's great, but when you're not, it can be really tough. And I do feel that a push to get at least seniors and juniors in, I know I already mentioned this, but at least finding a way. I know that it is underway, but I really want to stress that because I feel that with college on the way and a lot of AP exams, when students are in home, it's really tough for them to keep up, especially when the in-person lecture is going on. And I know this is something that the district pointed out, that they didn't want to have a lot of time where students were, there were students in class and there were students in remote. But I feel that if students who are back and want to be back, if we can find a way to get those students who, especially those who are taking AP exams, especially those who are taking final exams, and those who are looking forward to college, if we can find a way to get them in fully, even with these few weeks left, I feel that it would be so advantageous to all those students and would really make a life-changing impact. And obviously I understand the logistics, but I just really wanted to highlight that and kind of stress the need for that as well. And that's all I really have. If any committee members have any questions regarding kind of the situation that is hybrid learning, or any kind of inside scoop of what's going on, I'd be happy to let anybody know. And yeah, I just wanted to say that it really, the hybrid model has been great, and I'm glad to have been able to take a part in it, and I really feel like it's benefiting me. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Any members have any questions or comments? Mrs. Rizzo?
Ryan, are they still doing the t-shirts and the sweatshirts, or has that stopped? I know it was extended at one point.
Yeah, so for the class of 2021, the teachers and the sweatshirts, that has ended.
Mm-hmm.
There is chance I'm not sure if we had to buy out a few more, but that is something I can look into. I know that there is, we did buy out because there was a very little amount left. Now we had like our contract with the amount we had to sell. So there might be more merchandise left over. It's just, I'm not sure exactly where we are with that, but I can definitely, that's something I can follow up with and get more information on.
Okay, and if you're doing cash donations, some some of my colleagues might not use social media. So if you could email us and let us know where we may be able to send a cash donation. I don't know if it's Juliana or someone else, but if you can get that information to us, we'd like to help out for the most part.
Yeah, definitely. That's something I can take care of for you and get along
Okay.
with. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Mrs. Rizzo. Any other members? Okay. Thank you for the update, Ryan.
You're welcome.
We'll move on to the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent calendar as is.
Second.
Roll call the members.
Mr. Stacy Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Anthony D'Ambrosio,
Yes.
Mr. Michael Ferranti,
Yes.
Miss Susan Gravelis,
Yes.
Mr. Fred Sanala,
Yes.
Miss Carol Ty,
Yes.
Mayor Brian Arrigo.
Yes. Consent calendar passes. Next item on the agenda is the report of subcommittees. Any subcommittee reports? Mr. Ferranti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The subcommittee of the Ways and Means had a meeting on April 8th. In attendance was myself as the chairman, committee members Carol Ty and Anthony D'Ambrosio. Also in attendance were members Fred Sinella, Stacy Rizzo, Mayor Arrigo, Dr. Kelly, Dr. McCulber, Dr. Garcia, and obviously our CFO, Matt Cruz. Absolutely tremendous news this year. We got excess money that we've never gotten before. We have a lot of good stuff happening. The SOA money is supposed to be starting this year. Also, we got a couple of grants with the ESSA 2, roughly about $6.5 million for 2 years. The ESSA 3, about $17.5 million for 3 years. So we really are in great shape. Dr. Kelly put out a bunch of jobs that we approved under the SOA grant in the last meeting. And there's a lot of good things, and it looks like we're set up pretty good for the future, for the, not just the next couple of years, probably the next 5 or 6 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Franti. Any other subcommittee reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to old business. Any old business? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. Seeing none, we'll move on to school committee interests. Ms. Gravellisi.
Thank you, Mayor Arrigo. I just wanted to make mention that the next community visioning meeting will be Tuesday, April 27th at 5:30 p.m. The notice will be in tomorrow's Revere Journal. So I just wanted to make mention of that. That has to do with the new RHS, and all the parent and community member input is greatly valued. This is a community project, and we're all looking forward to this, which will be, ongoing for years to come until the completion of the project. So hopefully more people can join into the visioning meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gravellisi. It's another thing that I should have included. There will be a notice in tomorrow's Revere Journal, as you mentioned, and we'll also get that linked up onto the website. We'll be inviting folks who need to participate in different languages on the webinar itself, and invite folks to participate in English on the school committee's YouTube channel. And we will, as always, be monitoring questions and be able to take them from both venues.
Okay, any other members? Mrs. Rizzo? You're on mute, Mrs. Rizzo.
Shucks. So this past Friday, we had the school committee day on the Hill. Unfortunately, it had to be virtual, and it just really wasn't the same without having our students like Ryan attend. It's always been great to see the students participate in these events. But I was surprised for it being virtual. We had 180 people attend, and that was great. And we had just legislative discussions with Senator Jason Lewis and also with Rep. Alice Peisch, who always is very informative. And may I say, her daughter just married one of our Revere students. So lucky him. And then what was nice too is we had perspectives. We have 2 new representatives in the legislature, and that's Rep. Jake Oliveira from Ludlow and Rep. Carol Doherty from Taunton School Committee. So both are presently on this school committee and are now state reps. And so we got to listen to their perspective of school committee members and how they can help out in the legislature. So it was a really nice, informative morning, and hopefully we'll be back next year in person. And everyone kept talking about how Revere had no students there this year because we've always had the largest amount of students attend. So they're usually very jealous, but I think this year they felt like they were on even. Next year, we'll get them. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Rizzo. Anyone else? We will now move to motions. Mr. D'Ambrosio.
Thank you. Yes, there are several on the agenda tonight. The first is that which Dr. Kelly referred to regarding the Chapter 74 issue. In the motion reads that the school department submit the MSBA required paperwork indicating that Revere High School does not have or currently intend to begin any Chapter 74 programs.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Ty.
Did we need that? Did we need somebody to actually move the motion first, or I didn't hear Mr.
Yeah,
D'Ambrosio?
no one moved the motion. He just read it.
I'll move it then.
Ms.
Mr.
Ty.
D'Ambrosio,
Second.
you can move it.
Second.
Ms. Ty moves the motion. Mrs. Rizzo seconded it. We'll have a roll call.
Stacy Bronson Rizzo, yes.
Mrs. Stacy Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Anthony D'Ambrosio,
Yes.
Mr. Michael Ferranti,
Yes.
Miss Susan Gravelis,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick Sanella,
Yes.
Miss Carol Ty,
Yes.
Mayor Brian Arrigo.
Yes. Mr. D'Ambrosio.
Great, thank you. Now comes a list of encumbrance-related motions. The first is we move to encumber $20,000 invoice 1 to Left Field LLC for Owner's Project Management Services for the month of November 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Stacy Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Anthony D'Ambrosio,
Yes.
Mr. Michael Ferranti,
Yes.
Miss Susan Gravelis,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick Sanella,
Yes.
Miss Carol Ty,
Yes.
Mayor Brian Arrigo.
Yes.
Great. We move to approve the payment of invoice number 1 in the amount of $20,000 to Left Field LLC for Owner's Project Management Services for the month of 2020. That appears to be similar or the same wording as the prior motion.
So I can just clarify that each of these are going to come in pairs because it is required by statute that the school committee first encumber the funds and then approve the payment.
Fantastic.
So it's really about 6 actions that we're doing here, but because there are 2 things we have to do for each one, it's 12.
Great. So I think
So move.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Stacy Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Anthony D'Ambrosio,
Yes.
Mr. Michael Ferranti,
Yes.
Miss Susan Graffelis,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick Sanala,
Yes.
Miss Carol Tai,
Yes.
Mayor Brian Arrigo.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. The next is we move to encumber $20,000 invoice number 2 to Left Field LLC for Owners Project Management Services for the month of December 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Stacy Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Anthony D'Ambrosio,
Yes.
Mr. Michael Ferranti,
Yes.
Miss Susan Graffelis,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick Sanala,
Yes.
Miss Carol Tai,
Yes.
Mayor Brian Arrigo.
Yes.
Fantastic. The next is that we move to approve payment of invoice number 2 in the amount of $20,000 to Left Field LLC for Owners Project Management Services for the month of December 2020.
So
So
move.
moved. Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Stacy Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Anthony D'Ambrosio,
Yes.
Mr. Michael Ferranti,
Yes.
Miss Susan Graffelis,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick Sanala,
Yes.
Miss Carol Tai,
Yes.
Mayor Brian Arrigo.
Yes.
Fantastic. The next is that we move to encumber $20,000 invoice number 3 to Left Field LLC for Owners Project Management Services for the month of January 2021.
So move.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Stacy Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Anthony D'Ambrosio,
Yes.
Mr. Michael Ferranti,
Yes.
Miss Susan Graffelis,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick Sanala,
Yes.
Miss Carol Tai,
Yes.
Mayor Brian Arrigo.
Yes.
Awesome. The next is that we approve payment of invoice number 3 to Left Field LLC for Owners Project Management Services for the month of January 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Stacy Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Anthony D'Ambrosio,
Yes.
Mr. Michael Ferranti,
Yes.
Miss Susan Graffelis,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick Sanala,
Yes.
Miss Carol Tai,
Yes.
Mayor Brian Arrigo.
Yes.
Fantastic. The next is that we move to encumber $21,000 invoice number 4 to Left Field LLC for Owners Project Management Services for the month of February 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Stacy Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Anthony D'Ambrosio,
Yes.
Mr. Michael Ferranti,
Yes.
Miss Susan Graffelis,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick Sanala,
Yes.
Miss Carol Tai,
Yes.
Mayor Brian Arrigo.
Yes.
Thank you. And the next is we move to approve payment of invoice number 4 to Left Field LLC for Owners Project Management Services for the month of February 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Stacy Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Anthony D'Ambrosio,
Yes.
Mr. Michael Ferranti,
Yes.
Miss Susan Graffelis,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick Sanala,
Yes.
Miss Carol Ty,
Yes.
Mayor Brian Arrigo.
Yes.
We're almost there, guys. 4 left. The next is that we move to encumber $21,000 invoice number 5 to Left Field LLC for owner's project management services for the month of March 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Stacy Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Anthony D'Ambrosio,
Yes.
Mr. Michael Ferranti,
Yes.
Miss Susan Gravellisi,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick Sanala,
Yes.
Miss Carol Ty,
Yes.
Mayor Brian Arrigo.
Yes.
Awesome. And the next is that we move to approve payment of invoice number 5 to Left Field LLC for owner's project management services for the month of March 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Stacy Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Anthony D'Ambrosio,
Yes.
Mr. Michael Ferranti,
Yes.
Miss Susan Gravellisi,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick Sanala,
Yes.
Miss Carol Ty,
Yes.
Mayor Brian Arrigo.
Yes.
Great. The next is that we move to encumber $42,210 invoice number 87970-1 for professional services from March 1st, 2021 to March 31st, 2021 for feasibility study.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Stacy Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Anthony D'Ambrosio,
Yes.
Mr. Michael Ferranti,
Yes.
Miss Susan Gravellisi,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick Sanala,
Yes.
Miss Carol Ty,
Yes.
Mayor Brian Arrigo.
Yes.
Great. And the last is that we motion to approve payment of invoice number 87970 for professional services from March 1st, 2021 to March 31st, 2021 for feasibility study.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Stacy Bronson Rizzo,
Yes.
Mr. Anthony D'Ambrosio,
Yes.
Mr. Michael Ferranti,
Yes.
Miss Susan Gravellisi,
Yes.
Mr. Frederick Sanala,
Yes.
Miss Carol Ty,
Yes.
Mayor Brian Arrigo.
Yes. Okay. Seeing no further business before the committee, the chair will entertain a motion to,
Brian,
Mr.
just,
Sanal.
Brian, before you,
Mr. Sanal. go ahead.
Diane, was the reason we had to vote multiple times because it was a late communication? You mentioned about we had to encumber them twice or whatever. So every time we get from these people, this is what it's going to be?
Yep.
Well, then
Yep.
have them send one bill at a time, not 6 at once. Wow. Oof.
Freddie, I think your memory is short. You're forgetting the Hill School project when we used to do exactly what we just did.
But they came in a timely manner. I don't believe hearing 7 or 6 of them times 4, wow.
I think
Boy,
we
they
could
make
do
you work
better.
for your money.
We should
There'll be
top
a
it every
ton more to
time.
go. There'll be a ton of these.
Okay.
There'll be a
will
ton
be
of
a
Good.
ton.
That means that we're getting somewhere.
It means
We're
that
doing
it's
something.
progress. I mean, once we
Yeah.
start getting involved with subcontractors and procurement, there may not be this many in 1 month from one company. Like there's a lot from left field because, as Matt explained earlier, it's like getting the process rolling and getting accounts set up that kind of causes some of that delay initially. So we won't see like this long list from left field, but you'll see a large number of invoices that need to be first encumbered and then approved for payment from a variety of different subcontractors or providers when we're purchasing and procuring materials.
It's
So-
coming back, Diane. You're right. It's coming back.
And it's all good news.
Can I
I'm
make a
sorry,
motion?
We're
John.
moving.
A motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Okay.
Second.
Second.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Be well.
Carol, I was going to see if you want to stay on and,
Oh,
or did I
oh,
lose her?
sure.
I can just fill you.
Wait a minute.